Nos gustan los pies a nosotros. Mira, pisando está, mira. No, yo con cuidado lo voy a mandar. ¡Ey, yo! Quítate, maje, ¿verdad?
Quítate, Ale.
¡Ey, yo!
It's like I mentioned, we got these documents. They don't say much about the incident or what took place in the back seat of that Prince George's County SUV.
This is Francesco Marlette, a corporal with the Prince George's County Police Department in Maryland, and on Labor Day of 2023, a regular person with a phone camera caught him in full uniform kissing a woman at a public park before they both climbed into the back seat of his marked police cruiser while children were playing right there. By the end of this video, you'll find out why this police was arrested, because what his record looks like before any of this happened will leave you wondering how he kept that badge as long as he did.
Would this happen to anyone who is not a cop?
Right.
For child.
Whose colleagues respond, whose colleagues let him off the hook. His colleagues are also complicit here. We have just an absolute nightmare of a system.
Francesco Marlette was born on February the 8th, 1989, which puts him at around 34 years old when this whole thing blew up. He joined the Prince George's County Police Department around 2013, went through the department's police academy, and was assigned to the Bureau of Patrol. Over the years, he worked his way up from regular officer to police officer first class and eventually to the rank of corporal. On paper, he looked like a career officer going in the right direction. In 2021, the department even gave him the Bronze Medal of Valor for acts involving unusual personal risk. But behind that uniform, this man had a history that the department was very much aware of and chose to keep moving past every single time. Now, around 2013, the same year he joined the department, Marlette met a woman named Paula Jones, who would later become his wife. According to reports, he actually pulled her over for a traffic violation, a missing license plate, and that is how they met. They eventually got married, had children together, and from the outside, it looked like a regular family. Nothing about it would have told you what was actually going on inside that household. Paula had a 3-year-old son from a previous relationship when she and Marlette were together back in 2015. That little boy's biological father was a man named Lamar McCall, and the child was living with his mother and Marlette at their home in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. On December the 27th, 2015, Paula was in the kitchen making dinner while Marlette was watching the child. At some point, the child soiled the bed, and according to prosecutors, Marlette got angry and started spanking the boy so hard that the child's head hit the wall and he lost consciousness. When Paula walked into the room, her toddler was on the floor unconscious and Marlette was performing CPR on him. The boy was rushed to Children's National Medical Center in Washington, D.C., where doctors found a concussion and a bruise above his eye. The hospital staff called the police and Child Protective Services right away. A Prince George's County grand jury indicted Marlette in May of 2016 on 1 count of second-degree child abuse and 1 count of second-degree assault. The state's attorney at the time, Angela Also Brooks, said in a statement, "There is no excuse for Officer Marlette's actions. No matter what may have happened, striking a defenseless child and causing this type of injury is never acceptable." And then the charges were dropped because the child's mother declined to cooperate or testify. Once that happened, the criminal record was wiped clean. The department did handle it internally, but the discipline they gave him was removal from the next promotional cycle and a fine of $1,500. What makes this even worse is that the child's biological father, Lamar McCall, told the Daily Mail in 2023 that he did not even find out about the incident until 2019 because Child Protective Services never contacted him. He found out on his own years after the fact and had to go to court to get a protection order for his own son. He has since obtained primary custody. Then, in May of 2023, Marlette was suspended for 30 days after allegations of domestic violence came up again, this time in Charles County. The department investigated and ruled the allegations unfounded, bringing him back in June of 2023. So by the time that Labor Day footage hit the internet a few months later, this man had already been through a child abuse indictment and 2 domestic violence investigations, and he was still out there with a badge and a gun in a community that trusted him. That right there is the setup for everything that comes next. Keep that in mind. Now we get to what started all of this. It is Labor Day, Monday, September 4th, 2023. It is evening, still light outside, and South Lawn Neighborhood Park in Oxon Hill, Maryland is full of families. Kids are out playing soccer, parents are sitting around. It is a regular holiday evening at a community park. A man named Nelson Ochoa is there with his children, watching them play, when a marked Prince George's County Police SUV pulls up and parks near the area. Ochoa later said he wasn't sure what made him start recording, but something about the whole situation felt off, so he pulled out his phone and kept his camera on that cruiser. What he caught over the next 40 minutes is what blew this whole thing open. A woman pulled up in her own car, got out, walked over to the cruiser, and the 2 of them embraced, kissed, and walked together toward the patrol SUV before climbing into the back seat and closing the door. Marlette was in full uniform the entire time.
Nos gustan los pijos nosotros. Mira, pisando está, mira. No, yo al condado lo voy a mandar.
No te vaya a ver porque
Vaya, para el carro, mira, ve, para atrás la lleva, mira, ve. Ey, no, mira, pues.
Corriendo ya, mira.
¡Ey, yo! Quítate, maje, espérate.
Quítate, Ale.
¡Ey, yo!
ay, pero por lo menos disimulándote para allá, ve, escondido.
The windows on the back of the cruiser were heavily tinted, so nobody could see inside. But then something happened that made everyone at that park stop and stare. The car started rocking side to side in a public park with kids running around everywhere. Ochoa told reporters what that moment was like when he saw it. We couldn't believe what we were seeing, and what really made us go, wow, this is crazy, is when the car started rocking a little bit to the left and right. That's when we were like, this is crazy, in broad daylight with kids around. They stayed in that vehicle for somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes before they got out and drove off in separate vehicles like absolutely nothing had happened. The video went up on TikTok that same night, and by the next morning it was everywhere. Within days, the clip crossed 2 million views and was spreading across Instagram, Twitter, and every news outlet in the DC area. And just when people thought that was the whole story, a second video surfaced from a completely different park in Prince George's County showing a woman running excitedly toward Marlette's unlocked patrol cruiser and sliding into the back seat at a separate location on a different day. This was not a one-time thing.
A viral video showing a police officer getting close with a woman at a park in Oxon Hill, and then both of them getting into the back of his patrol vehicle.
Yeah, and tonight we're told Internal Affairs is investigating. They're conducting interviews to figure out if there was misconduct by that officer, Francesco Marlette. For now, he is on paid suspension.
Sources confirmed to WUSA 9 that Marlette is the officer involved in the second video you see that shows a woman getting into the back of a police vehicle at another Prince George's County park. And the state's attorney's office says at this point, no one has been charged with anything.
Well, in the last 30 minutes, like I mentioned, we got these documents. They don't say much about the incident or what took place in the back seat of that Prince George's County SUV, and they do not confirm whether Corporal Marlette was actually on the clock when that whole incident was recorded. They do, however, ask the community to come forward if they know any details regarding this case. Now, like you mentioned, we've gotten confirmation that Marlette is the man seen in both of those videos where a woman is seen in the back seat of his car, and you're probably wondering what is next in this case. We're told that once the internal investigation is complete, the Administrative Charging Committee will then make recommendations to Chief Aziz. The investigation will also be reviewed by the Police Accountability Board. Now, a lot has been said about Marlette's past, and in the information provided just 30 minutes ago by Prince George's County Police, they indicate that in 2016, Marlette was removed from his next promotional cycle and fined $1,500 for a child assault case. They also noted that in 2023, there was a domestic-related incident in Calvert County. Now, both of the cases led to a suspension and an investigation, according to police, but both were determined to be unfounded allegations. In a statement, Police Chief Malik Aziz said he is taking this incident very seriously, adding, "I know the officers' actions seen on those videos have sparked a range of emotions in the community and put a negative spotlight on this agency and the many hardworking women and men who wear our uniform. I expect every officer to conduct themselves in a way that will not just honor this agency or this county." You all mentioned that this story is, of course, getting a lot of reactions, and actually Marlette's wife has taken to social media and expressed her outrage regarding that incident that was caught on cell phone video. We have reached out to her as well as to the woman that is seen in both of those videos, but we have yet to hear back. We're expecting more updates and a conclusion to this ongoing internal investigation here in Prince George's County. I'm at police headquarters. Rafael Sanchez Cruz, WUSA 9.
Yeah, the chief says he expects a whole lot better from people who wear the badge there. All right.
With everything that's happened, police are under a magnifying glass. So if you're this cop in Maryland and you're running around, with your lover, you'd think that cops understand and know that businesses have security cameras now more than ever, right? Aren't they the ones that show up to crime scenes and go up to businesses and ask if they have surveillance footage? So how does this guy not know that he's being videoed multiple times having rendezvous with this female? Does that look good for the badge? The woman in both videos was later confirmed to be Virginia Pinto. She gave an interview to the New York Post and confirmed she and Marlette had been in a relationship for about 2 years and that it was not a one-night stand.
So I just wanted to say happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there, including me. I'm about to go out and eat. Y'all have a good one. Happy Veterans Day. Okay.
She said she had no regrets beyond the fact that it became public. Now here's where his wife comes in. Paula Marlette found out the same way the rest of us did, which was through social media. The morning after the video went viral, she got on Facebook and posted the clip herself with a caption that made it very clear she already knew exactly who that woman was. A woman who says she is the officer's wife has posted on Facebook that this is not a stranger, this woman, but his mistress, and that she's gotten a lot of love from people who have seen the video like she has and is upset not only for herself but for her children, the officer's wife. She wrote, "There goes my husband and his mistress." She named Virginia Pinto by name, described knowing about the affair, told the world she was going through it, and ended her posts by telling Pinto, and I am quoting directly, "I love you all, except for you, Virginia. You can rot in hell, B." Pinto fired back publicly, telling Paula not to be mad because her husband wanted her instead. Paula responded that Pinto's own husband had left her for cheating first. She also posted follow-up comments calling Pinto out in language that was not polished at all, and frankly, it is the kind of reaction most people watching could understand given what she had just seen. The two went back and forth for about a day on social media before Paula announced she was done talking about it publicly. The New York Post photographed Marlette at the family home that same afternoon, wearing a robe with Paula and the children present, which told you everything you needed to know about how that household was handling the situation. Meanwhile, back at the park, parents who were there that day were not keeping quiet either. One mother, Patricia Castaneda, told reporters she watched the woman arrive, hug the officer, and get in the car, and said the children absolutely saw what was happening. Another parent told reporters they could not believe a man in full uniform with a marked police vehicle showed that little respect for the people around him. As one commentator pointed out, these are the same officers who respond to crime scenes and pull surveillance footage from local businesses. He knew better than anyone that cameras were everywhere, and he did not care. That level of comfort in a police vehicle, in uniform, in public, tells you a lot about how untouchable this man felt. And given everything that had happened to him before with no real consequences, you can almost understand why he felt that way. Nelson Ochoa, the man who started all of this by pressing record, summed it up the way a lot of people were feeling. He told reporters he was glad he caught it on camera so that Prince George's County could see what kind of officers they had out there supposedly protecting the community. The moment the department became aware of the first video on Tuesday, September the 5th, 2023, they moved fast.
So this story is going viral because it's rather salacious, and this Maryland police officer was filmed in the parking lot of a park embracing a woman in front of his car, like hugging and kissing, and then they get into the back seat.
They both get into the back seat
of his cop car.
Look, yes, of the cruiser, of the SUV cruiser. You're right, it is salacious, but it's also funny, and it's all the things that make it be viral. But it's also very important that we talk about this, because this cannot be allowed to just go on. We don't need another 30-day paid investigation suspension / vacation for a guy who, this isn't, now we're going to talk about this isn't his first foray into trouble. This guy is a problem.
Yeah, and I would say that's the more important aspect of the story, is that there's always an assumption when an officer finally reaches the point where he does something so terrible that it ends up viral in the news. And the assumption is he's done this before.
Yeah.
This is a pattern for this person. And I think it usually happens that we can, through reporting, find out that that's true. And this is another case with this guy where, oh, weird, the cop who is using his on-duty time to get a job in the backseat of his cruiser is also someone who potentially could have not been a cop in 2019 when he was investigated for beating his girlfriend's 3-year-old child.
We were just trying to have a good time, go to play soccer.
Nelson Ochoa says he was in South Lawn Park in Oxon Hill on Labor Day enjoying a game of soccer with other families when a Prince George's County police cruiser pulled up and parked. He doesn't know what made him start to record, but he did.
As soon as I started recording, a car pulled up and then a young lady came out.
He recorded the two appearing to embrace and kiss and then get into the back of the officer's squad car.
We couldn't believe what we were seeing, and then what really made us go like, wow, like this is crazy is when, like I said, when the car started rocking a little bit to the left and right, that's when we were like, wow, this is crazy. And broad daylight with kids around. He was in the car for about 35 to 40 minutes.
Afterward, he says both quickly drove away in separate directions. Prince George's County Police released a statement on X, formerly known as Twitter, saying they were aware of the video and are investigating to determine the circumstances. They tell the I-Team they have identified the officer, though they have not released his name. Multiple police sources tell me it's Francesco Marlette, seen here in this picture. We reported on him back in 2016 when he was accused of beating his then-girlfriend's 3-year-old son. In 2019, the father of that child told me in an exclusive interview that he was trying to keep Marlette away from his son.
He would say, Daddy Francesco, which is his mom's boyfriend, hits me in my face and hits me in my stomach, and he's really mean.
According to the boy's medical records, the was spanked, resulting in a head injury. The Prince George's officers who responded that day ruled it an accident. A grand jury disagreed and charged Marlette. But after agreeing to anger management, Marlette never stood trial. The charges were dropped, his record expunged, and he was back on the force. His attorney declined to comment on the case at the time. A few years later, Marlette is making news again, now in this viral video.
I woke up this morning and had 2 million views already.
Ochoa says he hopes police will take a close look at what's going on in this video.
Yeah, I'm glad I caught all of that on camera so Prince George can see the type of officers they have in office, working for them, supposedly protecting the community.
Always record the police.
I hope that guy's safe. The guy who recorded.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little nerve-wracking for him, but definitely always record the police because you never know. You might catch someone going into the back of a cruiser for 40 minutes. I said job earlier. It was obviously more than that, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know, okay? So you heard the story in there. He was accused of beating a 3-year-old child, and the cops ruled it an accident when they came up on the scene.
Again, here's another instance, going back to our follow-up earlier about the Coffee City, Texas thing, of cops investigating themselves. Self-investigation leads to this, where 6 years ago, if they'd gotten this guy off the force, we could have avoided this entire situation.
Right.
He would have been gone, would not have been a cop.
Right. And so the cops ruled it an accident. The grand jury disagreed and charged him. And I also want to highlight, in the medical record, they said that the had been spanked, resulting in a head injury. I don't.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That doesn't add up.
Right.
That's not okay. Why is that in the medical record like that?
Yeah.
But so the grand jury disagreed and charged him. He agreed to do anger management. And so
a prosecutor dropped the charges.
Yeah, and then he gets his record expunged. Would this happen to anyone who is not a cop?
Right.
For child
whose colleagues respond, whose colleagues let him off the hook. His colleagues are also complicit here. We have just an absolute nightmare of a system where we're letting these bad apples be investigated by other bad apples, leading to more bad apple behavior.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, so very disturbing case, and I know that the police force is talking about implementing additional standards surrounding certain behaviors that will not be allowed while officers are on duty.
Also, this isn't the first time where he's copping a feel. I saw other video of him in a parking lot where he's doing the same thing with another woman. They get in the car. So listen, if a guy gets away with things, he's naturally going to push the envelope and try to get away with more and more. And if he can get away with big things, little things like in the backseat of a car, his work car, on duty, seems like a lot less risk,
Yeah.
Anyway, we'd love to know what you think. And by the way, this is right here. This is, the park in Alexandria where the cobblestone streets are that we were in that time?
Mm-hmm.
Right across the Potomac River is Oxon Hill, Maryland. It's right there.
Well, and also think about what the consequences would have been for a couple that was having sex
in a
back seat in a park
where there's children.
Right.
You could be jail time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just violating the law out in the open, and I'm really glad that it was caught on camera because maybe this is finally for him, the thing that will allow him to have consequences that will prevent him from being a cop, or he'll just move to another state and be a cop somewhere else.
He could move to Coffee City, Texas.
Work from home.
We know
miles
what
away.
they like. We know what their standards are.
Yeah.
We'd love to know what you think. 657-464-7609. Of course, you can email a voice memo from your smartphone to idoubtit@dollamore.com.
Chief Malik Aziz suspended Marlette's police powers the same day, and Internal Affairs opened a formal investigation immediately. The next day, the department put out an official statement that confirmed what the whole internet already knew. They wrote, "The department is aware of 2 videos involving Corporal Francesco Marlette and an adult female. As soon as the agency became aware of the first video on Tuesday, IAD opened an investigation, and Chief Malik Aziz decisively suspended this officer's police powers." Now, one thing worth noting here is that the department initially refused to release Marlette's name. They only confirmed the investigation and said more information would come later. The media reported his name anyway, and if you have ever watched a police chief stand at a podium and say a civilian's name out loud during an investigation, you already know the difference in how that goes when it is one of their own. The Internal Affairs investigation ran for 14 months and went much deeper than the 2 videos. Investigators reviewed the bystander footage, interviewed the people involved, and went through the department's computer-aided dispatch records to look at what Marlette was doing during his patrol shifts around the times of these encounters. What they found in those dispatch records is what turned this from an embarrassing story into a public safety story. In at least one documented instance, Marlette waited 9 minutes before responding to an emergency call because he was with Virginia Pinto on duty in the patrol vehicle. Someone called for help, and the person responsible for responding was parked at a park with his mistress. That is the part of this story that goes way beyond a cheating scandal. On November the 15th, 2024, about 14 months after that Labor Day video dropped, Marlette sat in front of a Prince George's County Police Administrative Hearing Board and faced 28 charges covering conduct unbecoming an officer, dereliction of duty, and the documented impact his behavior had on his ability to do his job. The board reviewed both viral videos, the dispatch records showing the emergency delay, and his full disciplinary history going all the way back to the 2016 child abuse case. They found him guilty on 22 of the 28 charges. Among those were at least 2 violations that under Maryland's statewide disciplinary matrix carry exactly one consequence, which is termination. Maryland's statewide disciplinary matrix is the official rulebook that tells police departments what punishment fits what violation. It was adopted in 2022, and under what it calls Category F, which is the most serious level, it lists engaging in sexual behavior on duty and engaging in sexual behavior in an agency vehicle as violations that require termination with no exceptions. There is no wiggle room built into that policy. Once the board found him guilty on those charges, the outcome was already decided. The board also recommended he forfeit more than 50 days of pay, and 2 termination orders were forwarded to the department through the Prince George's County Office of the Inspector General. From there, the lead judge had a 45-day window to finalize the written order, and once that order was issued, Chief Aziz had no ability to reduce it or reverse it. For Category F violations that have been sustained at the hearing level, the chief does not get to show leniency. The termination was binding. Marlett had been on paid administrative leave since September of 2023, which means the taxpayers of Prince George's County were paying his salary over a year while he was sitting at home suspended. He did have the right to appeal to a circuit court, but no appeal, no petition for review, and no reinstatement of any kind has appeared anywhere in the public record through March of 2026. Francesco Marlett is gone from the Prince George's County Police Department. The system that kept covering for him, that looked the other way when he put a 3-year-old in the hospital and slapped him with a $1,500 fine, finally ran out of room to keep doing that when a regular person at a park with a phone camera decided to press record. The department didn't act when he almost killed a child. They didn't act when there were domestic violence allegations, but when there was video they couldn't deny with 2 million people watching, the accountability that should have come years ago finally caught up. Same thing actual criminals do. They care what you can prove because, if you just weigh things on a scale, abusing a child, almost killing a child, and domestic violence is worse than solicited consensual sex. So that's really all this is. As you pointed out, they just got embarrassed. Nelson Ochoa went to a park to watch his kids play soccer on Labor Day and ended up doing more to hold a police officer accountable than years of internal processes had managed. Because of that video, at least this particular officer is no longer on the street. What do you think about this case? Let me know in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.